What's up, my friends, and welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. As always, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code up above my shoulder, PHLY365. Deposit $10, place a bet for just $5, and you get $150 back in bonus bets, whether your bets wins or loses. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Hello to you all, and happy Wednesday. I almost say Monday. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week as the Phillies roll on into the finale of their three-game series against the Boston Red Sox. Continued improbableness is kind of the theme of the last two nights. We'll get into all of it. We're going to get into a report from Jeff Passan speaking about one team in particular, relievers that we've discussed from that organization, and how much or if they are, in fact, available at all and what the return cost would be as we get closer and closer to the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We're just 8 days and 4 hours away, or 8 days and 5 hours away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We'll do all of that. We'll get into the first two games of the series against the Red Sox. We're going to do our mystery trade player as we do each and every day, and we will do all of that in the next hour. We've got a lot to get into, so let's jump right into things. Hello to you first and foremost. Tyler Zulli here with you. Andrew Frazier producing today's show. We'll talk to Andrew in just a little bit. We've got our Ace Hardware Temp Check segment. Of course, we have our Big Deal segment coming up right now. It is the Big Deal segment, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Mitsubishi. If you want to get in on any of the great SUV, 7-passenger SUV, the most affordable in America, the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander, head on over to cherryhillmitsubishi.com, or get on over to any of the bridges. It's just a couple of minutes from really any of the bridges from PA into Jersey. Our Big Deal segment today, no surprise, is Cristopher, not an all-star Sanchez, who basically put up two big middle fingers to the all-star group yesterday after going complete game against the Boston Red Sox. And I know, I get it, right? Maybe we're being a little bit over dramatic in that because Cristopher Sanchez was asked to be an all-star and he wasn't able to do it because he pitched on Sunday. And the rule is if you're going to show up to the all-star game, you have to be available to pitch and blah, 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 blah. Cristopher Sanchez, you're my all-star. And you're everybody in Philadelphia's all-star because my goodness, you want to talk about utter domination last night? That's how good Cristopher Sanchez was. He was, listen, he's had some great outings over the last two seasons. He had two complete games last year, a couple of shutouts over the last couple of seasons. The maturation process of Cristopher Sanchez, we've talked about his growth and development as a pitcher over the last couple of seasons. I'll be honest with you, I got to be hard-pressed to find a start that was better than what Sanchez produced last night. He gave up the one home run. That was really the only blemish, just 4 hits, 12 strikeouts in a complete game effort. And what I thought was most impressive, what I thought was the most telling of how good Cristopher Sanchez was last night against the Red Sox, he was at 96 pitches when he picked up a strikeout to end the 8th. And a normally pretty stoic, pretty reserved Cristopher Sanchez let out like exultation. He let out a scream and a fist pump. He was jacked up to get out of the inning because he had allowed a couple of base runners and he struck out a hitter to get out of the inning. And if you would have asked me in that moment, was Cristopher Sanchez done for the night? I probably would have said yes. Because you kind of let out that exultation, you let out that feel, and it feels like that's the all right, let your guard down moment. Shoulders, they're up. If your shoulders are kind of tense, they're up by your ears. You can let your shoulders down a little bit. And then Rob Thompson sent Cristopher Sanchez back out for the 9th. And all he did was pick up a pair of strikeouts and get up to his 12th strikeout on the night. I think it would be hard-pressed to find a better start that Cristopher Sanchez has made, at least this year, but perhaps in his career. That was utter domination from start to finish. As I said, 12 strikeouts, just the 4 hits, no walks. His season ERA is now down to 2.40. And maybe the most important thing that you saw last night, and it was mentioned a couple times on the broadcast, that was the Boston Red Sox are the best team in baseball when it comes to multiple statistics against left-handed pitchers this season. Here are the numbers for the Red Sox heading into or after last night, still with the numbers that Sanchez put up. They have scored the most runs against left-handed pitching this season. They have the best batting average against lefties this year. They're 4th in OBP. They're 6th in slug. They're 4th in OPS. They have the most doubles and the 5th most home runs in Major League Baseball against lefties this season. Also, as a whole, it's a team that averages 4.86 runs per game, the fifth best in baseball. They're also the fifth best in slugging and OPS. The Boston Red Sox, no question about it, can hit. And as we've talked about many, many times this season, Cristopher Sanchez is the great right-handed hitting lineup neutralizer because of his changeup. Because of the fact that Cristopher Sanchez, in my opinion, features one of the probably five best pitches, one of like the five best single pitches in all of baseball. He is the elite right-handed hitting neutralizer as a starting pitcher because of that pitch, because his arm action and his arm slot and his release point are almost identical on the sinker, the changeup, and the slider. But really, let's talk about the two, the sinker and the and the changeup. Last night, if you would have told me that Cristopher Sanchez's changeup was the best pitch of the night, I would have agreed with you. If you would have told me that his sinker was the best pitch of the night, I could have agreed with you on that as well. From Jump Street, he was locked in. I texted a buddy last night after the second inning when he had surrendered or when he had retired the first six hitters. And my exact words were, dude, Sanchez is on one tonight. And you could see it from the beginning, how good Cristopher Sanchez was. And it wasn't the changeup necessarily that immediately made it jump, because the changeup's always good for Cristopher Sanchez. It was the sinker location. He was throwing sinker down at the knees, down and away to let the few lefties that were in the lineup. He was barreling the sinker in on the hands and down at the knees to righties, down and in, that they weren't going to do anything with. An offer would have meant a broken bat. The location that Cristopher Sanchez pitched with last night with the sinker, I think, was the most important thing to his success. The changeup is always going to be good, but the sinker location last night was so damn good that it meant that he was just on a different planet than everybody else. And we talk about the effectiveness of the changeup. And why does it work? It works because of his arm action. I think last night, the arm action from Cristopher Sanchez was the best that we've seen all season long. It was absolutely impossible for any side of the plate, for all of these righties in the Boston Red Sox lineup, to differentiate between the sinker and the changeup before it was too late. I mean, I think the changeup, the arm action was so good last night. It's been good for most of the year, but the pitcher that he was last night was on a different stratosphere. He was locked in from the first pitch that he threw all the way up until the final pitch, 100 plus pitches last night when he recorded his 12th strikeout to end the game. Now, what makes Cristopher Sanchez so hard to hit? Is it the changeup? Sure. It's, again, one of the five best pitches in all of baseball. Is it the improved velocity? Of course it is. He's now gone from a guy who throws about 93 to a guy who throws 95 to a guy who consistently throws probably 97 miles an hour. But what makes Cristopher Sanchez so difficult to hit? It's his arm slot. Let's take a look at the graphic for all of Cristopher Sanchez's heat maps this season. This is Cristopher Sanchez's arm slot. That's ridiculous. Those are the release points for Cristopher Sanchez this season. And what you see is tunneling to its elite form. This is a guy who, that looks like it's probably maybe 100 pitches or so. That is way more than 100 pitches. That's a ridiculous amount of pitches thrown from Cristopher Sanchez, all tunneled in within a 1.5 foot radius in like basically in an XY plane, an XY coordinate.
It looks like a nerd cluster.
Dude, it's ridiculous. Like it looks like that's a really good way to put it, actually.
Doesn't it look like a nerd cluster? It does
look like a nerd cluster, right? Like, for those that have had the nerd cluster before, you know what we're talking about, the candy, right? Like, that is an absurd arm slot graphic. What that tells you is Cristopher Sanchez has become an elite pitcher. We've talked about it plenty. But the pitcher that he has become, going from a thrower to somebody who is able to locate, to somebody who is able to locate with velocity, is absurd. There is no question in my mind at this point that Cristopher Sanchez is a Cy Young candidate. He has 9 wins on the season, a 2.4 ERA. His strikeout numbers have gotten better and better and better. This guy is not just a good pitcher. This guy is not just a great pitcher. This guy is an elite starting pitcher across all of Major League Baseball. One final thing before we get a chance to chat with Andrew about his start last night. The location of the sinker paired with the eliteness of the changeup is what made his night special last night. He got 16 called strikes on the sinker alone. On top of that, Cristopher Sanchez got 22 swings on the changeup last night. He got 14 whiffs. 64% of the swings that that the Red Sox had last night on the changeup were swing and miss. 64%. 14 of 20 was what Cristopher Sanchez offered in terms of swing and miss stuff on the changeup last night. As we welcome in our second member of today's program, that's our producer and co-host, Andrew Frazier, to the program.
Yo.
Andrew, we've talked a lot. You and I have talked a lot about Cristopher Sanchez this year, and I think that there are certain players that you feel like you are like the conductor of the fan train on. And if you've listened to the PHLY Phillies podcast since its inception, I feel like I have been conducting the Cristopher Sanchez train for years now. But it's not a secret anymore. He's not a secret weapon. He's a legitimate ace in Major League Baseball. And the outing that we saw last night may have been his best performance of the season.
Oh, without a doubt. Like a few years ago, I would go to Phillies games. I get tickets, and I would always get Sanchez games. And VG was talking about the same thing earlier today. You know, when he got his package for the season, he would only get Sanchez games. And at that point, you're like, oh, man, like I want to see somebody else. But now if that was happening, if that was a reoccurring thing, I'd be like, this is the only guy I want to watch.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. And last night, to do what he did, 12 strikeouts, a full game, you know, that one home run, which is, you know, it is what it is. This is the guy right now who it could be your game 2 starter. Easily.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
And we did a segment the other, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago that was saying, I thought that Ranger Suarez deserved to be the game 2 starter. If it's Cristopher Sanchez, I'm like, I'll be happy to be wrong. I have no issue saying, hey, man, I was wrong. Suarez starts 3, Sanchez starts 2. Because I think with Suarez, my thing with Suarez has always been like baseline is very, very good. You could say the same thing about Cristopher Sanchez at this point. Like the guy has not turned in a bad start in weeks. I'm going to go back and take a look at his game log really quickly just to see when the last time he threw a clunker was. I mean, I don't know if he's had one this year, Andrew. Like here are his numbers over his last 6 starts. 9 innings, 1 earned run. 7 1/3, 1 earned run. 7 innings, 1 earned run.
It's crazy.
7 innings, 1 earned run. 6 innings, 1 earned run. 8 innings, 1 earned run.
That's wild.
That takes us back to June 19th. We are now over a month removed from that start against Miami. The last time he gave up multiple earned runs in a start was June 14th. Against the Toronto Blue Jays, a game which he went 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and got the win.
That's
a great
crazy.
start in and of itself, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about now 8, 14, 21, 28, 35 1/3, 44 1/3 innings pitched since June 19th. 6 earned runs.
This guy's nuts.
Those are video game numbers.
Not
I
an
don't
all-star.
do that on Road to the Show.
Not an all-star.
Not an all-star, though.
I don't even comprehend that.
Not an all-star, though.
No.
David Peterson was an all-star.
What are they, 9-1 with him at home?
He is, this season himself is 9-2.
9-2.
And the Phillies, in his starts, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 6-2, 9-2, 10-2, 10-3, 12-3, 12-4, 13-4, 13-5. 15-5, the Phillies are in Cristopher Sanchez's 20 starts.
Man.
15-5, he's 9-2.
I got to say something. You got to feel really good about this starting pitching going into the postseason.
You're not
They
kidding.
are, without a doubt, the best starting rotation in all of baseball going into this postseason.
And this is why, Andrew, like we've talked about this before. No question about it. The offense has shortcomings, right? Especially now with Alec Boehm being out. Like they were probably a bat short to begin with.
Yeah.
And I know people like don't love Alec Boehm. I'm an Alec Bohm supporter, but I know that there's varying levels of like and love and disdain for Alec Bohm. But there's no question about it, this offense has flaws. But if you said to me the Phillies were going to ride their starting pitching depth to an NLCS appearance, I wouldn't bat an eye.
No, especially now.
Right.
If you told me that right now, I'd be like, yeah. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Cristopher Sanchez now has 3 starts this season with double-digit strikeouts, 2 12s and an 11. He's also posted 3 separate starts with 9, 2 other starts with 8. So we're talking about 8 starts this season of 8 or more strikeouts.
It's outrageous.
He has 134 strikeouts in 124 innings pitched. He is now above a strikeout per inning pitcher.
You were so right. These are video game numbers that he is putting up this year. It's crazy.
It's road to the show type numbers. I mean, this guy is absurd how good he is and how good he's been this year so far. The Phillies now, I believe, if the season ended today, there is a very realistic chance the Phillies have 2 of the top 4 Cy Young candidates.
I was just about to say, what is his odds? Is he? I think he's fourth,
He was plus
right?
3,000 before yesterday's start. I would imagine it's probably better now.
I'm looking right here. What
my guess is it's probably Wheeler 1, Skeens is 2. There may be a way that Andrew Abbott is in that conversation. And then it's probably Sanchez and Yamamoto would be my guess.
Whoa. This must be a weird list I'm looking at because it doesn't even have him on it.
Maybe from earlier in the year. We'll find it. Don't worry about it. We'll find the futures. But that is our big deal segment of the day. Of course, brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Mitsubishi. Head on over 24/7 at cherryhillmitsubishi.com or get on over to any of the bridges and you can tell them that PHLY sent you. And you'll get a $100 restaurant.com gift card just for taking a test drive or completing a trade-in appraisal. All right, on the other side, we are going to get into our daily mystery trade player segment of the day. We still have our Ace Hardware Temp Check segment to go, and we'll get into some of the fun of the broadcast last night, which includes another just off-the-wall absurd story from our friend John Kruk, who is just a gem of a human being. And a gem of a broadcaster. We'll do it all right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. We'll be right back after this. All right, let's talk about Bet365, our presenting sponsor. You'll find out why 90 million users worldwide have found out why it is never ordinary at Bet365. You can live stream 780,000 events each and every year, and one of my favorite features of Bet365 is the early payout. We talked about it all winter and into the spring about the NBA and the NHL early payout. Well, now Bet365 has pivoted into the summer. They are offering you early payouts in MLB games. If your team goes up by 5 runs at any point in the game, your winner is going to be an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections that are marked as winners. And of course, new users, new customers can get up to $150 back in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to use the promo code PHLY365. It's above this shoulder here. It's also down below me there. PHLY365, deposit $10, just bet $5, and you'll get $150 back in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. You can use those bonus numbers on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. You can find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. If you're looking for the most affordable 7-passenger SUV in America, our friends over at cherryhillmitsubishi.com have you covered with the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Take advantage of their 0% APR financing for 60 months if you are a Pennsylvania resident only. Or you can take home a 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage for payments starting as low as just $55 a week with 0 down retail. Now, offer on that is not valid with trade-in. It is subject to credit approval by third party. Not all applicants may apply. And think about this. Not only are you going to get in a great new ride or a great certified pre-owned, but you can combine that with the best warranty in the automotive business. 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain and 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper. So why settle for a lesser warranty and be on the hook for those costly repairs down the road? Stop in today, tell them we sent you here at PHLY, and receive a $100 restaurant.com gift card just for taking a test drive or completing a trade-in appraisal. I know people buy Mitsubishis elsewhere. I'm just not sure why. Drive home in your new Mitsubishi today, just minutes from all bridges, or available 24/7 at cherryhillmitsubishi.com. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Hello to everybody in the chat. Lenny Franco, Chris O'Donnell, player one in the Mad Cats, Filthy McNasty, Ray Schumacher, Peeling Onions. Who else was here early? Philly 007. Big thank you to everybody who's been here so far. Molly and Barkley's Life. Appreciate you all. Lenny, I see your comment. I know you're not a Bohm fan. I know you want to acquire power. Suarez is somebody who I think the Phillies will consider. I think it would be, if you ask me, a percentage chance at which the Arizona Diamondbacks want to move Ketel Marte is zero. I think that they have zero interest in moving an MVP caliber player at this current moment, especially one that's still under contract. But I do think Suarez is on the trade block, especially considering he is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. All right, let's get into our daily mystery trade player of the day. I guess that's repetitive and redundant. Daily and of the day. No need for both of those. Let's get into our mystery trade player of the day, where if you've not been with us before, or you haven't seen this segment, I give you a mystery trade player. I'll give you their Baseball Savant page and some of their numbers, and you have to tell me if you fall into one of three categories: definitely interested, maybe interested, or not interested at all. Let's take a look at our mystery trade player of the day today. We'll take a look at some of their numbers. This is a reliever, 41 appearances so far this year, a 3.63 ERA, just under 40 innings pitched. Strikeout numbers are really, really good. 51 strikeouts in under 40 innings pitched. Walk numbers are really, really not good. He is in the first percentile of walk rate this year. 24 walks in less than 40 innings pitched. A walk rate of 14.5%. A strikeout rate of almost 31%. So the good with the bad is that this guy strikes a lot of hitters out, but he's also going to put a lot of hitters on base. And it's why his whip is in the 1.3s, because he's only given up 29 hits in 39 innings. That's a very manageable number, but the walk rates are really, really high. So the good is that guy throws hard. Guy hasn't given up a lot of hard contact this year, has generated a lot of swing and miss, has generated a lot of strikeouts, and has kept the ball has kept a lot of soft contact. Average exit velocity is good. Hard hit percentage is good. The issue with this particular player is really one-fold this year, and kind of been one-fold throughout his career. When the command goes off, the command is really, really off. And you see it as to why he's in the first percentile of walk rate this year at 14.5%. He is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season, so it would be a rental piece for the Phillies bullpen. And with all of that being said, before we get to the chat and see what the chat has to say, Andrew, I want to ask you thoughts on this player's numbers.
Want them.
You do. You're 100% in.
I love those numbers.
Is it the strikeout numbers specifically?
The strikeout numbers, yeah.
So, obviously, super high strikeout total. Do the walks concern you?
Yes, they do concern me. But I feel like this would be a nice little piece to the arsenal.
So, right-handed arm.
Mm-hmm.
So, you would add this player probably in between Kerkering and Robertson, would be my guess. Kerkering, I think, would still be your highest leverage reliever, but I think this player would probably slot between Kerkering and Robertson. It is so a couple people guessing in the chat. Peeling Onion says Ryan Presley. It is not Presley. Chris O'Donnell says Felix Bautista. It is not Felix Bautista, but Chris, you are in the right ballpark. This one to me is probably the first one where I look at the numbers and I look at the name, and the numbers make me say interest. The name makes me say no, thank you. Because this is an old friend.
Why. Yeah, this
is an old friend of ours who was traded away at the deadline last year in exchange for. I don't remember who was he in exchange for. Seth Johnson. Or was he? No, he may have actually. I lied. He may have been in exchange for Austin Hayes.
Yeah, he was Austin Hayes.
I think it was Austin Hayes.
Yeah.
This is Sir Anthony Dominguez. And I know immediately this is where I go. The numbers look good, other than the walk rate. The walk rate is not good. The numbers look great. 51 strikeouts. I mean, his swing and miss stuff is back in a big way. Velo is there. ERA looks good. And then I hear Sir Anthony Dominguez, and like my blood runs cold a little bit from knowing the type of pitcher that Dominguez could be throughout his career. I think if you stripped away the nameplate on the back and the familiarity with Sir Anthony Dominguez and just looked at the numbers, it's an intriguing acquisition.
It is.
And I think we know, we have seen the highs and lows of Sir Anthony Dominguez. The highs are, this dude's an elite back-end bullpen reliever. The lows are, this dude's not pitchable at times. And
we've been on that roller coaster.
I think immediately you say the name and you go, nope, I'm good, because I did the same thing. Jamie brought it up to me the other day, and I went, nope, I'm cool. But if you strip away the nameplate and just look at the numbers, I think there might be value for a guy like Dominguez. I would say no. But I think there may be merit to a cheaper deal considering he's an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, I mean, like Peel and Onion said in the chat, we already got back together with 1X.
Yeah, just get the band back together.
You get the band back together, Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we've been on that roller coaster. We know what he can do. We've seen how great he can be.
Sure.
We've also seen how dog water of a player he can be as well. So looking at those numbers, I really am interested in that. But knowing the name, yeah, it's tough.
So just taking a look at his game log really quickly, because I just want to see, really, again, the walk rates are the thing that stands out. He's not given up a ton of hits this year. And the contact he's given up has been pretty manageable. It's really just the walks. So far this year, Dominguez has 5 different games in which he's walked multiple hitters. So 10 walks in 5 appearances. So it's really just, it's 14 walks in the other 36. If I told you it was 14 walks in 36 innings, you'd feel a lot better about it, as opposed to 24 walks in 39 innings pitched. So I think that Phillies fans immediately are going to say no, and I understand why. But if you strike out on some of the bigger names and you're looking for middle of the bullpen help, I think there's worse seasons to look at, but I also understand the hesitancy from Phillies fans because of the fact that it is a guy who's been here before, and the lows are definitely tangible for sure. If he had never pitched here before, and you just saw the numbers of a guy who was on the final year of his deal,
take him.
Do you think Phillies fans would be more interested?
Yes,
100%. I think they might be.
100%.
I also think
snake bitten. That's essentially, we're snake bitten with him, and that's why we're like, throw out the cross and stay away. Because we don't want to see what he can blow up in front of our faces. We don't want to see that.
In his career, he has had 2 seasons with the Phillies of 3 ERA or better. 2022 was probably his best full season. He struck out 61 in 51 innings. And I know he kind of started to fall apart a little bit in the postseason, but he was a very reliable reliever for the Phillies in the 2022 postseason. Like, he was pitching high leverage innings, maybe more out of necessity than anything else, but he was a very reliable reliever for the Phillies. His first year when he came up in 2018, he had a 2.9 ERA over 53 appearances and 58 innings. He had 74 strikeouts that season. Now, we've also seen a guy who last year posted a 4.4 and was trending in the wrong direction when it came to the whip and things like that. A 1.4 whip last year with the Phillies, or 2 years ago, excuse me, with the Phillies, a 1.2 whip last year. And this year the whip is up strictly because of the walks. I think if you were to say this guy had never pitched for the Phillies before, and I think you could even flip it on its head. If a team were to call the Orioles, another team other than the Phillies called up the Orioles and acquired Sir Anthony Dominguez, I think their fan base would go, that's a good move. Yeah, look at the numbers. The guy's pitching well. Like, it's not the move. It's kind of like we talked about with Robertson. It's not the move, but it's a move. And I think another fan base that was in need of bullpen help, like I look at teams like, LA, for example, who just placed Tanner Scott on the IL, who has been who's gotten a lot have had a lot of injuries in their bullpen, has gotten some underwhelming performances from their bullpen. Like if LA were to go with a B tier move, I think LA is a team that might think about acquiring a guy like Dominguez. I also think the Yankees would be a team that would consider acquiring a guy like Dominguez. I think if you asked another team, hey, look at these numbers and tell me, do you want that guy? I bet you most of their fans would say yes, other than the Walks. Phillies fans probably put themselves in a different boat. All right, that's our mystery trade player of the day. We'll continue to do that for the next couple of days, as we're just 8 days away. I guess, Andrew, that means we have what? 3 more mystery trade players? Friday, Monday, and Wednesday?
Yes.
And then remember, everybody, our Thursday we will be doing a bonus show, trade deadline show, 5 to 7 here. I'll be in this chair. Andrew's probably going to be in that chair. I think Rich Hoffman is going to join us for the show. So excited to chat with Rich about the trade deadline. So it'll be the 3 of us here. We'll be on an hour before the trade deadline and then the hour following the trade deadline expiration at 6 o'clock. So really looking forward to that show. But we have 3 more mystery trade players over the next couple of days before the trade deadline officially happens. All right, let's pause for just a moment. On the other side, we have to get to our Ace Hardware Temp Check segment, where we're going to check in on the temperature of another team and where their kind of feelings are as the trade deadline approaches. It's a team that we've talked about a lot. They need to make a decision at some point, but we are going to talk about 2 of their players in specific. And, of course, we will wrap up with the John Kruk story. And I want to send a shout out to one of the greats who we lost yesterday. So we'll do that at the end of the show as well. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We will be right back after this. All right, let's talk about Shady Rays, probably my favorite company, maybe in the world. Of all the companies that I am a customer to, of all the companies that I speak of, Shady Rays may be my all-time favorite company because I am a sunglass man through and through, whether it's driving or I was out on the golf course this past weekend, or if I'm at the ballpark, I'm down at CBP. I need my shades all the time because my eyes are just, first of all, my eyes are dreadful. And second of all, I get headaches pretty easily. So I need my shades all the time. And with Shady Rays, I know that I'm covered with the best protection plan in all of eyewear because, listen, we've been there before. You head on out to the beach, you get in the ocean, you take the jump, you get hit in the face by a wave, and your shades are gone. Where are they? I don't know. They belong to a tuna now, probably. But the best thing about Shady Rays is you lose your shades. They take damage, unexpected hit. You can get the best protection in all of eyewear. Your shades are covered. Don't worry about it. The best protection plan in all of eyewear. So I wear my sunglasses now without fear, whether it's at concerts or on the boat or on hikes, whatever it might be. I wear my Shady Rays, not just because they look good and they make me feel good, not because they keep my eyes fresh, but because I know that even if I take an unexpected hit, I'm going to have that protection plan in place. It's the eyewear company that has your back. And we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head on over to shadyrays.com. Use the code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. You can try for yourself the shades that are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people, including myself.
Oh, Tyler, I walked into my garage yesterday and it felt like a sauna.
Dude, I got to tell you, even for somebody who loves summer, it's getting a little ridiculous out there.
Dude, I know. So, I got 10 bags of ice and I was going to make an ice bath because, the healing properties and all that stuff and just to beat the heat. But when I went to go make the ice bath outside, all the bags of ice melted.
Andrew, why didn't you just, turn on your AC?
Because I'm trying to be energy efficient, Tyler.
All right, listen. Instead of trying to go through your new skincare routine, all you have to do is check out Pico's energy-saving rebates. They've got all of the deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut your bill.
Wait. So no more ice?
No, unless you're trying to do a polar plunge, you're good.
Now that's what's up.
Just head on over to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Tyler Zulli here, Andrew Frazier along with us as well as we get into our Ace Hardware Temp Check segment. As we check in on who's heating up or cooling down, head on over to Ace Hardware Home Services. Whether you need heating, cooling, plumbing, AC, whatever it might be, trust the trusted pros who you know are going to bring the helpful hardware folks to become your helpful hardware home service team. They're going to bring that helpful that you love from the store right to your front door, all the way from Jersey, Philly to the Jersey Shore. Let's check in on our Ace Hardware Temp Check, and we're going to get the temperature of one team in particular. And it is a team that we've checked in on quite a bit this offseason, or this trade deadline, because they got to figure out what they are. Are they a seller? Are they a buyer? Are they a stand pat team? They are currently 3 games under 500 at 49-52. They're 10.5 games out of the American League Central standings, behind the Tigers, who are starting to run away with the American League Central. But we've talked about the Minnesota Twins quite a bit before, and Jeff Passan is talking about them now. His latest article on ESPN, he said, quote, "The Twins are asking in order to acquire Duran or Jax," speaking of Jhoan Duran or Griffin Jax, "they are asking for at least 2 top 100 caliber prospects." Now, I think the immediate rule of thumb is more times than not, you are hesitant to move position players for bullpen arms. You know, whether it is high-end, medium, low-leverage guys. I know the Phillies made a move last trade deadline and acquired Tanner Banks for William Bergoya, who was a guy that they were like medium excited about. Now, we're talking about 2 back end of the bullpen type of guys who are going to require pretty significant hauls. And the fact that not only are both of these guys very, very good, they are also under team control through 2027, I think makes their deals even more kind of exciting and palatable for other GMs. So I went back and I took a look at how many prospects the Phillies have within the top 100. Andrew, if I had to ask you how many prospects you thought the Phillies had in the top 100, what would you say?
In the top 100?
Yes.
I'm going to say they have 10.
Little less. They have 6 in the top 100. So here are their top 100 prospects across Major League Baseball. No surprise, Andrew Painter headlines that he's the number 8 prospect. Adam Miller is number 20. Justin Crawford, number 45. Eduardo Tait, number 59. Mick Abel, number 83. And then Aron Escobar has found his way into the top 100 at number 93. I also personally think at some point in his tenure as a Phillies prospect that Griffin Burkholder will find his way into the top 100 at some point in the next probably 2 or 3-ish years. But right now they have 6 top 100 prospects. So if you have 6 or 7 guys that could fit the bill of, quote, top 100 caliber players, again, I know the prevailing thought about moving position players for prospects is one that you don't feel super excited about. But if you're looking to acquire a legitimate back end of the bullpen type of reliever, I don't think anybody fits that bill, maybe with the exception of Emmanuel Clase. I don't think anybody fits that bill more than Jhoan Duran. Now, I think at the end of the day, the Twins are not going to trade either of these guys. And I know that they are 3 games under. They don't feel like they're super duper contenders. But keep in mind, the Minnesota Twins are currently in the midst of a sale. And when there are sales that happen, I think a lot of times the new ownership group comes in, especially if it's one that wants to spend money, and they don't want to disrupt the big-time talent that the team currently has. And if you talk about big-time talent on the Minnesota Twins, I think 4 names come to mind. The first one is Byron Buxton, who has said many, many times he's not waiving his no-trade clause. He wants to be a Twin for life. His no-trade clause runs through next year. I think we can pretty much put that conversation to bed. No questions asked. The next one is Joe Ryan, who is their top-of-the-line starter. Joe Ryan is a guy that I am super fond of, and I think I did a video at the beginning of the year that said, picked 5 guys that have never been all-stars before, and Joe Ryan was on that list. And I think the stuff is really legit, and I think he's shown this year that he is a top-of-the-line starter. I don't think they want to move that guy. I just think he's a paramount piece to their rotation as this team unfolds. Do they want to trade their 2 big-time relievers? That's the bigger question. And I think ultimately the answer probably becomes no, unless they're blown away with a deal that does truly include that type of return. Now, does the return become smaller as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline? Perhaps if they get desperate. But I think because of the fact that these two guys have so much team control left, I'm not so sure they're as desperate as, if they were impending free agents, right? If Jhoan Duran or Griffin Jax were a free agent at the end of this offseason, they probably would move them. The Twins have guys that they're going to trade. I think they're going to trade Harrison Bader if they can find somebody to take him. He's having a good year. He's on a 1-year deal. I think the Twins are probably going to trade Willie Castro. And Willie Castro is a guy that might be interesting for a lot of teams because of his positional versatility and the fact that he's hitting above 280 since the calendar turned to June. He's a good player. I think he's the type of guy that would fit for a good team that's looking for a super utility type of guy. I think I do think they're going to move players. I just don't know if it necessarily comes in the form of the two guys that are their highest. I think that probably two of the three highest return players are Griffin Jax and Jhoan Duran. But I will say this. If the return is two top 100 caliber players, I think the easy answer is to say, well, put Mick Abel in the deal, right? Mick Abel makes sense. He's a starter that the Twins would have significant team control with. He's pitched in the big leagues this year. I mean, he could theoretically be a starter as soon as the trade gets finalized. And that has merit. Don't get me wrong. I think teams value Mick Abel. I think the Phillies value Mick Abel. But if it's Mick Abel plus somebody else, like if I said to you they're going to offer Abel and Aaron Escobar for Jhoan Duran, I think Phillies fans would make that deal. I don't know if that's enough for the Twins. Because here's the thing. The Twins are going to ask for up here. The Phillies and any other team is going to offer here. And it's about meeting in the middle somewhere that's a fair ground. Meeting in the middle is much harder to do when teams have team control and they basically say, we'll just hold on to this guy. We don't need to move him. We could be good next year. I think the Twins have underperformed this year. I think the Twins have a decent roster and a couple moves here and there probably get them into playoff contention as soon as maybe next year. And those two guys could be paramount pieces to their conversation. But if the Twins do decide that they're going to move on from either of these two guys, I think the Phillies are going to be interested. I think the Dodgers are going to be interested. I think the Yankees are going to be interested. I think the Mets are going to be interested. I think basically any top-tier team that needs any semblance of back end of the bullpen help is going to be interested. I think any team that wants bullpen help, period, is interested in adding an arm. Now, if you can add one of these two guys, you're probably willing to make the move. We talked about it in the Mason Miller deal video yesterday. I compared Mason Miller to Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott got 4 top 25 prospects in the Padres system. Now, none of them at the preseason mark were top 100 players, but they got number 4. Let me go back and take a look. I think it was number 4, number 5, like a 15 perhaps. I'll go back and give me 1 second. Sorry, it was 2. Robbie Snelling was the Padres' number 2 prospect. It was 2, 4, 5, and 24. Now, that was for 2 relievers, but it was also for 1 reliever in Tanner Scott, who was on an expiring deal. I think much like Mason Miller, much like Emmanuel Clase, much like these two guys, the Twins are going to ask for a lot, and they should. And if they don't get the return on investment that they're thinking about, they'll just hold on to them and maybe move them in the offseason, maybe move them next year if things aren't going well. But they do have a ton of team control left on these two guys, and I don't think they're going to just be – I don't think they're going to balk at low ball offers. They're going to balk at mid-grade offers. I think they're probably not going to come down too much from asking for exactly what they wanted. Now, as Ray points out, you could surmise that the Padres gave up too much for Scott and Hoeing. And you might be right. But I think that's going to be a parameter if that's the top end offer, that's going to be a parameter for this year's deadline as well. I just don't think, because of the fact that a lot of teams still think they might be contenders and the fact that 12 teams make the postseason, the return on investment's got to be high. It's got to be worth it. And I think in this particular case, much like with Mason Miller, quite frankly, I think in this particular case, the teams are just going to sit on their talent if they don't get the return that they ask for. And I also think, too, if it is about moving high-end prospects, the Dodgers are going to be able to outclass the Phillies. Now, the Phillies farm system's gotten much better. There's no question about it. But I do think the Phillies are going to be possibly out-prospect if a team like the Dodgers do get involved. because you would consider moving, like a Pauly or a Freeland. And they're really highly touted prospects. It's the 35th, and I think Paulie's somewhere in the top 30. I think if you get into a bidding war with the Dodgers, you're going to lose. So, with that being said, I think the most likely outcome is that the Twins keep these guys. The second most likely outcome is that the acquisition that gets made between the two, and I would bet probably Duran, even though he's the closer and probably better, has a better chance of being moved than Jax. If Duran does get moved, my guess is that he's going to end up being a Dodger. All right, that is our Ace Hardware Temp Check segment brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. You can find them at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. All right, we're going to have a little bit of fun at John Kruk's expense at the end of the show. And as I said, want to pay tribute to one of the greats in the music scene that we lost yesterday. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We will be right back after this. All right, let's tell you about our friends a little bit in more detail from Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. Listen, whether it's something small like an outlet that you needed to fix over the last year or so, or it's something significant like plumbing, electric, heating, cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. They offer great in-home service, and they're people's people too, right? They offer you the incredible service that you come to expect at Ace Hardware right at your front door. They're going to deliver incredible customer service, timely service, and they're going to work with you every step of the way from figuring out what's wrong to the potential fix. Or if it's something that is really wrong, they're going to get you that installation that you need. And I know it's been hot. We're in the dog days of summer. If your AC's not kicking on full blast, you got to get on over to Ace Hardware Home Services to get that squared away as soon as possible. They bring experience, they bring understanding, and they bring that helpful to your home so you can spend more time on the projects that really matter to you. They offer free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for you and your budget. And it's also service that you're going to trust, and satisfaction is guaranteed. And their local home service teams, their teams live and serve your community, and they're dedicated to keeping their neighbors comfortable in their own homes. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. Speaking of home, my hometown casino of choice, that is with my friends over at Parx Casino. I'm not kidding you when I tell you I could get in my car by the time this read is over. If I found a way to be in two places at once, by the time this read is over, I would be at Parx. It's off the Street Road exit of I-95 and the Turnpike. It is truly my hometown casino of choice. But if you're thinking, Tyler, I don't want to get off the couch today, it's hot, I don't feel like driving, no big deal. You can play all of your favorite games right there from the palm of your hand on the BetParx online casino app. You can check out all the new casino games like Huff and More Puff or Fireblaze Sky Queen. They're BetParx exclusive. They offer incredible slots that you can play to your favorite TV shows, your favorite movies, whether it's old school, new school, and anything in between. You're going to have the opportunity to play those slots right in the palm of your hand. And of course, table games, blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat. And if you're not into the TV or movie portion of slots, you can play games like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortune, and Cleopatra in their online slots. And new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you are down in the first 24 hours. So head on over to betparx.com, download the app right now, and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino right at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You play to win. You love to play. You play to win. You bet at BetParx. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk about the beauty that is John Kruk, because he is just the gift that keeps on giving, Andrew. I don't know if you caught him last night on the broadcast, but he, pretty unprompted, had another John Kruk-ism to
Love
tell.
those isms.
And what I love about John Kruk when he tells these stories is that they're just like out of nowhere, right? They just
all the time.
They just like happen. Tom McCarthy's like, all right, swung on, fouled off into the third row. That'll run the count to 2-1. And then out of nowhere, John Kruk's like, yeah, did I ever tell you this time about that I got chased with a machete down Street Road? And you're like, where the hell did this come from? And then T-Mac has to laugh and then go, all right, ball 3, down and away,
Yeah.
and like get right back to it. But like the story last night that John Kruk was telling, and I'm not even doing it justice by like kind of paraphrasing. But John Kruk basically unprovoked goes, yo, I ever tell you about the time that I got shot at while I was cutting the trees down in West Virginia? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, did I hear that right?
Because that's just a throwaway story. Let me just throw that out there.
Like in the middle of the 5th inning.
Yeah.
He's just telling you about the time. So the story, if you didn't hear the story goes that John Kruk and his buddies were, in their home in West Virginia. And I say this because he said this. I'm not trying to be rude. John Kruk has said he kind of lives in the sticks a little bit when it comes to his home in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Got a lot of land, a little bit of redneck area, if you will.
Yeah.
And I say that because he said it, not because I'm the one, surmising it. But he was telling the time about he and his buddies were using a chainsaw to cut down a tree on his land. And I guess there was a guy who was hunting on his land. First of all, illegally on his land. First of all, because it's private property. And second of all, I don't know if it was during hunting season or not, but he was hunting on his land and they were using the chainsaw. And I guess the chainsaw was scaring away, I don't know if he was hunting deer or what it was, but it was scaring away the animals that the guy was hunting. And John Kruk's like, yeah, he just started shooting at us. And I'm like, what? Where did this come from? Like you said, first of all, you tell the story so calmly. And second of all, like I said, it came in like the 5th inning it would be like me telling a story about how I got stuck in traffic, right? It's just a throwaway conversation piece. This dude's talking about getting shot at and while he's trying to cut his trees down. Like, where did this story come from? And Andrew, this is like one of 100 stories that John Kruk tells throughout the broadcast.
Who's the guy shooting at him? Like, did they think they were deer? Like, what was going through that guy's mind? This story needs to be evaluated even more.
Right. Like, there needs to be, like, I would love to have John on the podcast just to talk about this story.
Yeah.
Forget
same.
baseball. Like, we'll talk baseball, but like, I want to hear about this and the millions of other stories that he tells. Because I'm sitting there watching the game. Excuse me. I'm watching the game and I'm live tweeting and I'm, creating graphics and stuff like that. And it just like catches my ear and I'm like, and I looked at my wife and I went, What did he just say? Is he talking about some dude shooting at him, like illegally hunting? And then T-Mac was like, yeah, and on top of it, he was illegally shooting at you. And I'm like, yeah, most of the time that would fall under the guise of illegal, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I just like, it's just one of the millions of stories that John Kruk has. Like, what did he say the other day where it wasn't even a story? He was like, they asked him, what's your thought process when you as a lefty, when you face a hard throwing lefty on the mound? And just so very bluntly, he was like, gotta be prepared to die. And I think Cole Hamels was in the booth and Cole's like, dude, what?
Yeah.
It's like, yep, if you're a lefty and you're facing a hard throwing lefty, you gotta be prepared to die.
Oh, man, he's so funny.
He's unbelievable.
He had another moment last night, which was really funny. And you know how they always get food sent up to them in the box?
Yes. Yep.
And so they got these sandwiches. And the sandwich came in a cardboard box, like cardboard box lid and all that. And, Tom opens it up, gets the sandwich out, he's showing it off. And it was a beautiful sandwich. It looked great. But you can watch John in the background. He's struggling with the box. He can't get the box open. And then all of a sudden, he's just like, man, this box is kicking my ass.
It's actually funny you bring that up because I do remember that because my wife says, are you allowed to say that on the air?
Yeah.
And so I went through all of like the FCC words you can and can't say. And I'm like, we were going through like the minutia of it because there are words that you can say, but you can't say, like, for example, what he said there. If you add whole to it, that becomes an FCC
you
banned
cannot
word.
say that.
You can't say that. But if you just say that, you can get away with it. It's like if I were to say, like, I remember, with Anthony when we were at the Fanatic, I don't know if you remember this, we used to have the B and C line. Mm-hmm. You remember that segment we used to do?
Yes.
So the B and C line, you could say that, but you couldn't call somebody that word.
Yes, correct.
So like if you're using it to say I'm complaining, you can use that word. But if if I called you that, Andrew, we'd get a phone call from the
Yes.
FCC.
Yeah. It's so weird, right? That you can use that in one way, but not in the
Right.
other way. And no S words,
Right.
obviously no F words.
Correct.
You know, you can't say those, but yeah.
What's the other one? There's one other one you can say, but if you add something else to it, you can't say. We're getting into the weeds of it now. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about like John Kruk's just ridiculous craziness stories.
Oh yeah.
All right. One final thing as we get out of here today, I want to send some love and some admiration to the Prince of Darkness.
Oh yeah.
Who Ozzy Osbourne, if you didn't hear, passed away at the age of 76 yesterday. As you know, I am a huge metal fan. And for those of us in the metal community, there would be no metal community. There would be no metal. There would be no death metal. There would be no doom metal. There would be no metalcore, no deathcore, no thrash metal, no prog metal, no power metal, no any one of the 100 different genres of metal if it weren't for Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. And so from millions of metal fans worldwide, this guy and the band Black Sabbath, for the most part, are the godfathers of the metal community. And I was listening to Black Sabbath's debut album on the ride in today to pay my respects to the great Ozzy Osbourne. And I'm listening to the album, and I said, man, you can hear the influences. You could hear the death metal influences in it. You could hear the black metal influences in the opening track, Black Sabbath. It's, you could hear all of the influences that come to play when it came to the Black Sabbath first couple of albums, whether it was Black Sabbath or Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, or whether then Ozzy goes out on his own and produces Blizzard of Oz or Diary of a Madman. One of my all-time favorite songs in ever when it comes to Ozzy is Bark at the Moon. I think that one of the great guitar riffs of all time. As a metal fan, much like everybody in the metal community, the debt of gratitude that is owed to both Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath, later Ronnie James Dio, who stepped in as the lead singer of Black Sabbath, and they produced the album Heaven and Hell, Dio on his own, Dio with Rainbow. Like those two guys, Ozzy and Dio, are the grandfathers, the godfathers of the metal world. And, now Ozzy and Randy Rhoads are getting to jam again in the great beyond, in the afterlife. And just wanted to send my respects and my love to the great Ozzy Osbourne, who passed at 76 years old yesterday. Andrew, I don't know if you're an Ozzy fan or a Sabbath fan. You got any songs that come to mind as kind of your go-to Ozzy songs, whether it be solo or with Sabbath?
Oh, of course, man. There's a bunch of songs out there. And, just growing up listening to him, my dad was a metal guy. And, I grew up listening to Ozzy and all those bands. And then, obviously they had the reality show, the Osbournes, and there were just so many great moments in that, and watching him yelling at his dogs to, Sharon.
One of my all-time favorite moments is finding out that Ozzy hates bubbles.
Yes, dude.
And,
I saw that clip yesterday.
Loathes bubbles for whatever reason. Incredible.
He's an I'm Prince of Darkness. You think I care about bubbles? But all honesty, great musician, grandfather of metal, but also just a great human being. He was a really, really just like loving and caring guy for everybody that was around him. Beautiful love story between him and Sharon, and just like what they had. And it's sad. It's heavy right now.
I saw a post that was posted by one of the guys who who auditioned to be the guitar. And by the way, if you're watching us here on our streaming platforms, head on over to allphly.com to catch the rest of the show. We are officially in overtime. Yeah, so I saw a post. It must have been either late last night or early this morning. It was by somebody who auditioned when Ozzy was looking for a guitarist later in into the 2000s. And he auditioned with Ozzy, played some songs. Ozzy ended up going back to Zakk Wylde, who he's worked with in the past. Zakk Wylde was his guitarist for a while. If you know Zach Wild, he's toured with Ozzy. He's done Black Label Society. He's currently touring with the two remaining surviving members of Pantera. But Ozzy ended up going with Zach Wild instead. And Ozzy wrote this guy a really nice letter that said, "Hey man, thank you so much for your time. You're a great musician. I really respect and appreciate you. I'm going to go with a guy that I know and have worked with before. I'm going to go with Zach, but thank you so much for taking the time to audition." And it's stuff like that that's like, all right, that's the human side of the rock star, right? You see the rock star, and I know there's always the stories about like the debauchery that went on at the rock star life that Ozzy lived.
The 2 straight years of acid. Yeah,
but
of course.
You see the human side of Ozzy that was like, this is a decent dude, right? Who wrote letters like that to guys that, took the time to try out for his band. But like, whether it be Black Sabbath or on his own, I truly, genuinely believe that Randy Rhoads is one of the greatest guitarists of all time. And I think the duo between he and Ozzy was unmatched on albums like Diary of a Madman and Blizzard of Oz. And I just I'm sad today. I'm not going to lie to you. I am sad today as a metal fan. I am sad today to learn of Ozzy's passing. So I wanted to send my respects to the great Ozzy Osbourne, who has a huge influence on my life and a lot of people's lives who listen to rock and metal. All right, that is going to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. To everybody in the chat, Ray Schumacher, Filthy McNasty, Chris O'Donnell, Peeling Onions. Who else was here earlier in the show? I want to try to make sure I shout out everybody. Player One and the Mad Cats. Who else did I miss? Anybody else? Lenny Franco. I think that might be everybody, but if I missed you, I apologize. Thank you. Molly and Barkley's Life was here earlier. Philly 007 was here earlier. So thank you to everybody for being a part of today's show. We are just 8 days and 4 hours away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yep, we're getting a little bit closer and a little bit closer and a little bit closer, Andrew. We'll see what happens. Does Dave Dombrowski have a big splash in him like we have seen Dombrowski do in the past? Time will tell. We've got 8 days left. Phillies and Red Sox tonight for the series finale. Phillies have an opportunity to sweep out the Sox as they send Jesus Luzardo to the mound. First pitch, 7:05. We'll be back with you on Friday afternoon as we wrap up the series tonight against the Red Sox, and we'll look ahead to the series at Yankee Stadium this weekend as the Phillies head to the Bronx. So big thanks to everybody in the chat. Of course, a big thank you to Andrew Frazier for producing and co-hosting today. I'm Tyler Zulli. We'll talk to you again on Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.